The Super Over Podcast.
With me, JP Duminy.
And it's me, Jemi.
Let's do it. Okay, welcome to the Super Over Podcast. Liam Flint here, and you're very welcome. And this, of course, is the cricket show where we give you a bit of a flavour about what it's actually like to be a professional cricketer. So I've roped in some help for us this week, and we're actually in the presence of a Hall of Famer. And before you say anything, I'm afraid it's not JP Duminy.
Okay,
You'll be pleased to know. But JP joins us anyway. Japes, you're in your hotel room out in the UAE. How's life?
You know, it has its positives, but it's been challenging. You know, we're very restricted in terms of our movements, but it's great to be part of the IPL. I mean, we can't take anything away from that. To be able to be here and be part of this prestigious tournament is a real privilege. And yes, it's a different capacity for me, you know, having played here for 9 years. So being in the com box with the legends, you know, the Hall of Famers is a real privilege.
Yeah, we can tell what he's alluding to. Yeah, we're going to talk quite a bit about the IPL. And so now just moving up a notch in our star-studded lineup, we're going to go to Jemi Rodrigues, of course, current Indian women international.
And then me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. As long as we know that, yeah, you're there. Jemi's up here. Jemi, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Liam. Same, just practicing and waiting to go to UAE soon, mostly this month. I think around the 20th, we still didn't get the dates. We'll be going to UAE, then quarantine for 7 days, then maybe a few days of practice, and then the women's IPL. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Amazing. Okay, we've delayed it long enough. So our Hall of Famer, we're delighted to welcome former Australian international Lisa Sthalekar joins us. Of course, she's out in the UAE as well with the IPL com crew. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I feel very privileged and honoured to be invited. Like, I've watched you guys going, "Come, when does the invite come?" And it's only stuck here with JP. He's like, "Oh, we better do an interview with her to keep it quiet." So here I am.
Yeah, she was that excited, guys, that she asked me today, "Listen, how do we record this? Should I come to your room? Should we do it together?" And I was like, "Listen, just slow down, man. Listen, we don't have to sit next to each other. You know, you can do it from your own bedroom. It's fine."
I was like, this whole social distancing and the fact that with this bio bubble, I'm craving like people and wanting to be around them. So Jemi, good luck. Go stir crazy, mate.
Yeah, I don't think you should wish me good luck. The people who are going to see me after the quarantine, you should wish them good luck.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried, Jemi, about you in some kind of quarantine in a hotel room. I don't think you're going to cope very well unless you've got your guitar with you or some form of entertainment.
I don't know, man, how it's going to be. Honestly, I'm not thinking about it. I'll just go with the flow. Once I'm there, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Unless you're there, Liam,
yeah.
I'll call you up if I'm bored.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll be outside. I'll be near the beach or doing something nice. So yeah, if you ever need some encouragement, just call me. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and then you can find me my future husband also.
Yeah, that's what our show's become.
Is this a dating show or something? Well, what's going on?
No, sorry. For those who don't know, yesterday Liam messaged on the group saying I found someone for you and all that, so you can look for. So that was the whole thing about it.
Right, got it.
Yeah. Sorry, Lisa. It's a bit confusing, but obviously, as you know, Jemi is an amazing woman, lots of talent, and also just a great character. So yeah, me and JP on the side, we just obviously get lots of requests in from lots of men saying we'd love to marry Jemi. So we're trying to help her as best we can.
As you should.
As we should, yeah. But she's got very high standards, so we just stick to cricket mostly.
I like how you wrote me into that. I like that.
Well, yeah, it's a
I had
joint
nothing
effort.
to do with it. I had nothing to do with it.
Distancing himself. Right, guys,
Yeah.
should we start with IPL? I mean, it's the thing that everyone wants to know about at the moment. Lisa, JP, you are there. Very different, of course, with no crowds. You've got to be in your bubbles, as Lisa, you've already talked about. Lisa, how has it been, the opening couple of weeks. I mean, the action's been brilliant. We've had some amazing games. How have you found it from the media point of view?
Yeah, typical IPL. You never know what's going to happen. Sharjah has been a completely different ground where it's the death of the bowler. And it's all about the batters, which we always know T20 cricket is the case. But everyone's taken a little bit of time, probably since lockdown. Obviously, some players, the English and the Australians had a series before, so they've had a bit of cricket, but you can see that the Indian players coming out of 6 months of not doing anything have taken the classic catches, but probably dropped the sitters. The bowlers have missed their, at death bowling, their Yorkers. But you get a sense that things are starting to build up and ramp up a little bit more. I mean, the fact that Virat Kohli in his last match finally got runs, which were, the IPL wouldn't be the same without him scoring runs, just shows that some players will take a little bit of time to get into. But as usual, it's quality cricket, close games, except for the games that we've been doing, JP. Abu Dhabi is one-sided affairs.
Yeah, it's been weird like that because, there's been various nail biters across Dubai and Sharjah. So just to give you some context, guys, so we've got two crews. So one in Abu Dhabi and one in Dubai. And Dubai sort of services Dubai and the Sharjah games. And then we are only doing Abu Dhabi games. So that's obviously for quarantine and different bubbles. And, there's actually a border between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So we needed to come across the border and make sure that you have a negative COVID testing done. And it was quite a process. So we're very much in our own bubble here. But like you said there, it's been interesting how, you've had 30, 40 run win games, particularly at this venue. And it's a little bit different, I guess, in terms of the size of the ground. The boundaries are quite big. The pitch has been pretty true. There's been some good carry, a little bit of grass on the surface as well. So it's been interesting to see how things have unfolded. But as you said there, Lisa, it's really been exciting to be a part of. And I mentioned it earlier, just the commentary side of things. I was asked this question my very first game. I did a sort of live feed back into studio with the legend, Gary Morrison, and obviously never a dull moment with him around. And they asked me, how am I finding it? And I said, one of the big differences from commentating to playing is when you wake up in the morning, you don't have that butterflies and that uneasy feeling. I mean, you guys can relate, Lisa. When it doesn't matter how many games you played, when you woke up in the morning and knew it was game day, there was just like this uneasy feeling. And it was just your body kind of getting used to the, getting ready for battle kind of thing. But I didn't enjoy that feeling. So waking up now, knowing that you're going to the ground, you're part of the game, but just in a different context. And yes, there are a few nerves floating around, a new environment for me, but it's, the crew in itself, as you would say, has been phenomenal, being part of that team. But beautiful to just come into the stadium, ease into it, don't have to warm up, just sit in an aircon box and just speak a load of, I must use my words carefully here, speak a lot of sense, not rubbish, sense.
That's it. Yeah, that's what they're paying you for. So you guys saying there must be some nerve, surely, because I mean you don't want to say the wrong thing on air. There still must be a sense of I want to get this right, but you're just saying it's a different sense of anticipation.
It's almost like actually JP and I caught up of an afternoon and we were chatting all things commentary and his retirement and my path leaving the game and then coming into the media. But I find, like, especially T20 cricket, it's like a performance. I mean, Danny Morrison is a prime example. He just ramps it up another level. And the IPL, Jemi, isn't it? It's all about action. It's noise, bang, sixes, fours, wickets. The crowd is normally going crazy. I mean, that's what we've missed. But I think Star have done a wonderful job in creating the noise still for the telecast, which we hear as commentators. So it still lifts you a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of nerves when you're doing things for the first time, a pitch report, or you have to shoot something straight to camera and you have to remember a number of stats. That takes a bit of time. And I find that over the years, I've gotten a little bit better, but the first couple of times when you stuff up, then you get in your head and you keep saying the wrong word. And but to be commentating with, Ian Bishop, Harsha Bogle, Danny Morrison, like these are three guys that have done so much in the commentary box. And as JP said, everyone's been so welcoming. And that's what I found when I came into the IPL in 2015.
No, for sure.
That
And the
must be so fun.
The interesting thing about the UAE, so Lisa mentioned there, we have this noise, and as a spectator as well, you would have heard the sort of crowd noise on the television, and I think that has just created a special kind of impact in how we commentate as well, because like you said, there's this empty stadiums, and it's weird because you're like in this box, you don't actually, I don't know about you, Lisa, but you're actually not even noticing that there's nothing happening on the out on the field, because you're just having the sound in your ear the whole time. So that's been phenomenal for sure.
Yeah, this sounds fascinating. Jem, what's it been like for you? Obviously, watching so far, like you said, you'll be out there soon. Mumbai, been doing all right. How would you assess like the whole tournament and also your boys that you love so much?
So yeah, there have been some crazy matches this time, like right from the start of the tournament. And just when we thought it couldn't get any better than Mumbai Indians and RCB in that Super Over, and like every match is so close. But yeah, as JP and Lisa said, not the ones they were doing commentary on. But it's been so good that cricket's back finally, and we're getting to see our own players go out there and play. So just watching that, you feel good, but at the same time you're like, when am I going to go over there and play? So it's just been that feeling. So just can't wait. It's been like quite some time now. I've been like, okay, we are getting closer. We're getting closer to going out there and playing. But yeah, apart from that, it's been great, and Mumbai Indians have been doing decently well. And I have noticed that whenever JP was commentating, so Mumbai Indians were winning. So I hope that he does that and continues to do commentary for Mumbai Indians.
Who's impressed you in terms of players in itself? Who's really impressed you, Jim, thus far?
So there have been a few. One is Mayank Agarwal, Sanju Samson. And in bowlers, Washington Sundar. I mean, in the power play as an off spinner too, give those overs to your captain. I think any captain would want such a kind of a bowler. And Bishnoi, I think, the youngster. So yeah, these guys have really impressed me.
Are you going for all the young guys, hey?
Yeah, I wonder why.
Oh, you got to look past 25, Jemi.
One for the future.
No, but it's so good to see these guys like coming up. I mean, yes, there are players even with experience who are doing well, but for youngsters and for people like me, looking at them, it's more inspiring for me to go out there and do well. So yeah, that's why like most of them are my pick.
Have you been impressed? I'm going to ask a question. See, this is just me coming in.
Go for it.
Have you been impressed the fact that every under 19 Indian side from 2016, 2018, 2020, players have come in, and there's probably clumps of 3 or 4 that have come in straight to the IPL and had an impact. Washington Sundar, you mentioned 2016, Ravi Bishnoi 2020. Have you been impressed how they've been able to adapt so quickly to the best T20 competition in the world?
Yeah, I've been super impressed, because playing cricket, I can relate to them, because we know it's never easy going into an IPL, just you've played under 19 cricket and then going into an IPL. So it's never been that easy, but these guys just show the kind of character they have, that, it doesn't matter, who they play against or who's in their team. They just know that, like, okay, they are the best and they are just got to do the best thing that they can do to help the team win. So I think that's one of the best things, and the fearlessness with which they play. I mean, they don't care about their age. They look like such mature players when they play over there. So, that is one of the best things, that I can take and learn from them. So, yeah.
It's a bit like Shafali Verma, huh?
Yes.
So who's going to be the next star that is unearthed with the women's exhibition matches that are coming up in the UAE?
Honestly, till now our teams haven't come out yet, so I don't know who all are going
Come
to be
on,
there.
yes. Be the selector.
No.
Besides you,
women's-
obviously.
no.
She's old now, JP. Like she's
I'm
a
20.
That's
So
why you're
I am
saying
really
25
excited
plus.
to-
Yeah.
Like, I am really excited to see again Richa and Shifali. Honestly, last year I've not played much of domestic cricket, so I don't know about the new girls coming in. But definitely there are some girls, who are going to take us all by surprise. But how much ever I've seen, I'm really excited to see them both.
Mhm. Okay.
Jemi, you know how you just mentioned, obviously, Ravi Bishnoi a minute ago? We had a question through just now, which is basically for all of you. It said, if any of you had watched his bowling run-up and his action yesterday in the game, what was your opinion? Because obviously, a lot of people found that funny. Shane Watson really wasn't happy with it, it seemed. What did you guys make of his run-up and the fact that it's obviously legal, but it seemed to throw a few batsmen? What do we make of it?
I didn't see yesterday's game.
Yeah, what happened? I didn't see that.
Jemi.
Okay,
didn't
I
see?
Jeez, you two are hopeless. Lucky I'm here.
Thanks, Lisa.
So he runs as a right arm over bowler. He runs through the umpire and still bowls it right arm over. So
Is that
we
like
saw
Chahar as well?
Chahar as well doing it. So I actually think, you know what? It's smart. It's clever. As a player, JP and Jemi, you would know that you get trained to follow a bowler coming a certain pattern. Now, if even a right arm over comes around the wicket and they hide behind the umpire, it's really off-putting. So that's why we saw Shane Watson kind of go, huh? What is this? I don't like this. I'm uncomfortable. What is he bowling? Is he bowling left arm, right arm, all that type of thing? So it's almost like a variation. You can bowl that and then your right arm over. The same delivery could be the same stock ball that you're bowling, but you're coming from a different angle, a different position, and that's good enough just to make the batter stop and think. So I don't mind it. I like it. But watch guys start to do it a lot more, and batters being able to counter that as well.
That's the T20 game is all about that, isn't it? It's innovativeness and finding ways to bring something of X factor value, I guess, to the game, because it's such a short game, and you need to make an impact in the game. So why not? I'm definitely for it for sure.
Yeah, come on, JP, step up, mate. You're meant to be there on the ground, so you should be in the loop with all these things, really.
Watching it, shouldn't he? Like that's his job.
So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. So I haven't watched one game from my bedroom because the TV unfortunately I don't have access to the games yet. But then all links that I've received, for some reason, they're not working on my devices. I don't know. So I know I need to get possibly out of my room, maybe go and sit in Bish's room or Lisa's room or whatever the case may be, or watch the game. But I'm a guy that I'm busy studying as well, so I've got various things to do and just trying to wear many hats at the moment. So don't shoot me down now, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I'm glad we've got Lisa here.
That's the reason we called her today.
Exactly.
Because we knew this question would come up.
No worries.
Exactly.
All right, so my dad,
So let's just talk a little bit about the women's game. I mean, Lisa, you've been an integral part of that. You've been known as being a trailblazer and breaking down of barriers in the women's game. Where do you see it at the moment? I mean, we've obviously seen a big injection in terms of interest following. And that's been great. I mean, it's been exciting from a cricketing fraternity point of view, how there's been a big shift and a push for women's cricket. Are you enjoying seeing that push, or do you see there's still more opportunities to advance the game?
Yeah, I guess throughout time, if you were to kind of wind the clock back, there have been moments within the women's game where it has been loved by the public. Back in the 30s and 40s, when tests were being played, they were being played in front of 20,000 people. And they loved the women's game. And then all of a sudden, women's cricket disappears off the face of the earth. And then it kind of comes back with the women's game holding the first ever World Cup 2 years prior to the men. And then we saw, obviously, in India in 97, the World Cup final at Eden Gardens in front of 80,000 people. So we've seen these kind of real surges in interest, and then it's fallen away. Now, I'm hoping that what we saw at the MCG on March 8, which coincided with International Women's Day, is not another little spike in the interest of women's cricket and then it goes into oblivion. And probably COVID-19, for all of us associated with the game, and even for Jemi as well as a young player, kind of went, oh, we've just had this massive high, and now where is the women's game? Like, as she said, when am I playing next? What am I looking forward to? And cricket associations, national boards have reverted back to the traditional model of men's cricket equals broadcast rights equals money. So the women's game is probably seen as, well, just if we can get the men's game up and running, then we can get the women's game as well. Whereas probably ECB and Claire Connor, who's over there, said her board basically said, whatever money you need to get the women to play games, then let's go for it. They were supposed to play India. They were supposed to play South Africa. It didn't happen. And then the West Indies finally, on the last prayer came across and they were able to get some international cricket. So I hope that certainly in Australia, we've got our recent series, Australia versus New Zealand. There's actual crowds because it's being played up in Brisbane where COVID isn't an issue. Obviously, limited number of people. But the WBBL is starting. For the Indian domestic players, I think it's been vital for the women's exhibition matches to take place because the Indian team is now so loved. They have been performing really well in ICC events. Kind of started in 2017. Jemi was probably about 8. Now we've got 2020. And the 2020 side is the future of the Indian women's side. It is such an exciting group of players. So to have this, the exhibition matches, and then I think they've just announced potentially a Sri Lankan tour afterwards, is crucial. You've got to find ways because you know what? We've saturated the men's game. You cannot put any more T20 domestic competitions or T10s or T5 or whatever you want. The men's game is saturated. The women's game is the only place that you are going to generate interest and see numbers skyrocket. So I'm glad to see ICC and the national boards are suddenly clicking on to the fact that they've probably forgotten about the women's game for a good 150 years and they're starting to catch up now.
It's a good thing that I retired when I did because, based on your assessments there, we're on the decline.
I mean, look, let's face it, women are taking over. You should know that from your marriage, surely.
Well said. You look at Cricket South Africa as well. We've got an acting woman CEO. So yeah, it's definitely there's definitely been a surge in women being involved in sport, which I don't think at all is a bad thing, honestly. You think of women, you think of a motherly figure that guides, whether it be organizations or teams or people in a certain direction with love and affection and compassion. Whereas men, we're not sure how we want to do it. Like it's always like this bravado and hard. Like that's how we do it. And women has got this softer touch. And I think there's a bit of woman inside of me, to be honest. But but yes, I definitely think that there's a softer touch needed. And I think we're heading in the right direction by having various role players and stakeholders from a woman's perspective in the game.
Yeah.
It's all about diversity, isn't it? Whether it be down the boardroom, decision makers, you want to have people having an impact. and making decisions based on different situations. You don't want to have the same group of people going, yep, absolutely, let's go that way. You sometimes need someone just to question it. It doesn't always have to be a female either. But I think also just on that point about the women having a softer side, I certainly think that some of the women I know within administration, they're hard characters and they're scary as all hell. But I think in this generation as well, with the amount of mental health issues that we're seeing in sport, you actually need someone who can be empathetic. And if that person can be a male or a female, then that's fine. But we tend to see that more women are more empathetic and more willing to talk to the person, to the player, and find a little bit more out about them as a human being, not just, Jemi, how's your front foot drive going?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. JP, I'm sure you'd like echo what I'm saying here. Just the fact that obviously Jemi is doing this podcast, I just think what an amazing example in terms of Jemi being the modern cricketer. She goes so far off the field as a character to promoting the game. She's so full of life and bubbly. And I look at Jemi and I think in 10 years' time, Jemi, you're going to have made such a big impact on the women's game just through who you are, really. Whether you got, an average of 50 or whether you're just actually a great person. So the fact that we get to talk to you now, I mean, at the front end of your career, I mean, Japes, in 10 years' time, it's a bit scary, isn't it, to think where Jemi's going to be? She'll have outgrown us. She'll be Hall of Fame. She'll be having her own TV deals. So we need to make the most of her now.
Well, I'm guessing that she wouldn't be part of the Super Over WhatsApp group anymore. So we got to be careful with Liam.
See, I will be a part of it as long as Liam stops sending me all those rishtas. I mean, the rishtas in English, marriage proposals. Yeah. So yeah.
You're going to have to get married, Jemi, and then he'll stop, right?
That's how it works.
So since you said I was 8 in 2017, so I don't know when I'm going to get married. So no, but I think like adding on to what Liam said, but the plan of starting this podcast and even inviting me in it, actually, credit goes to you guys, because honestly, nobody would ever have thought, okay, we have JP over here, Liam over here, but then you will invite a youngster or a cricketer or like a upcoming cricketer, but it's so nice of you guys to do that, and actually you guys are setting the right example of how we should go ahead in the future. So it's great to be a part of this podcast.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure if we saw a breakdown of the ratings and who's most popular, I'm pretty sure, Jemi, you bring in 90% of the audience. JP's kind of flagging a little bit. So yeah, never forget that. You're very relevant.
I'm interested how you never reference yourself. You're always speaking down at me. What's going on there?
Well, that's the thing. I'm allowed to do that. I can just mute you whenever I like. Yeah, I can call the shots, mate, I'm afraid.
Okay, fair enough. So hopefully, as you said there, Jem will be a Wall of Famer at some point. So just tapping into that, Lisa, I mean, I know that it gets thrown around loosely at times, maybe in the com box, they throw it as a joke here and there. But I mean, that in itself, I look at that as a past player now. That in itself is a great achievement. And how does that sit with you in terms of your achievements in your career? I mean, is that one of the ultimate highlights, or where does it sit?
Yeah, you never take up the game for personal milestones. Well, certainly I didn't. I picked cricket because it was a team sport, and you got to hang out with your mates. And then I was fortunate enough to travel around the world. So, and I was part of some really successful sides. The Australian team, when I first came in, we dominated. And I won my first World Cup in 2005 against India. And they were absolute legends in the team. So I feel like, I'm the making of my coaches and my teammates. And they were the ones that probably got the best out of me and were able to teach me about the game. Belinda Clark is a prime example, Karen Rolton, Catherine Fitzpatrick, all three are Hall of Famers themselves. So I've never actually seen my if you want to look at pure stats, I never see my numbers as anything exceptional. Like I said, I've been around a long time, so that's why my numbers are good. But I do feel sorry probably for the generation before me, because I was the one that was fortunate that started to play at least one series every year, if not two. I mean, now it's completely different. I think they have about 3 or 4 tours a year. But, you know, to play one tour a year, that was amazing. And then to go your second tour. And to be honest, I never played against a South Africa or a Sri Lanka outside of a World Cup. So the teams that I played literally was New Zealand, which is a Rose Bowl every year. Every couple of years got a chance to go play England, or vice versa, they'd come to us. And only at the back end, I started to play India a little bit more. So, you know, I've never kind of toured South Africa to play a bilateral series or anything like that. So the Hall of Fame, how does it sit? It's kind of nice to be thought of with that group of players. You look at who's in the ICC Hall of Fame, male and female players, and I go, wow, I can't believe that, you know, they think that I'm good enough to be in that group. So it's probably a nice it's probably a nice testament to all of the people that got me to where I am. So my family and my teammates, more than anything.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Lisa, can I just ask you, I mean, you've achieved so much in the game, on the field and off it as well. What's your heart behind that? Where does the fire come from? Because so many people go through the game, they play, they have fun, they then leave, and it's into the next generation. But you seem to have made a conscious decision that you're going to cause as much change as you can. You're going to push into new areas. It seems like you're on a bit of a mission. Where does that fuel come from to, you know, pave the way for others?
I seriously think
Woman domination.
Yes, we want to take over the world. But to be honest, I think Cricket New South Wales, so my state association, my first captain was Belinda Clark. She's leaving Cricket New South Wales, Cricket Australia after 20 years of service as an administrator while she was captaining her country. So I had leaders from a young age that were heavily involved in the game. Lisa Kitely, who's now the coach of England. So that's all I've known. That's all I've seen. People that I've looked up to have given back to the game. And I know we kind of say it's a cliche, but you want to leave the game better than when you first stepped in. And that's something that I've certainly taken on board. And I've probably pushed the envelope, and a few others, from a players association to ensure that the players are looked after, that women were included firstly in the players association, that it wasn't just seen as a men's game, that the welfare side of things are really important. So even as a broadcaster, I'll always look after the players. I mean, ask Jemi some of the questions I ask. I'm not going to ask the tough questions of, Jemi, why did you drop that catch on the boundary again? I might say
at the end, after the match, you just make fun of me and take my case. That's it.
I'll do it off air, and I'll give her a good little jibe here and there. I'll never do it on air, because our job as well as a broadcaster is to get the best out of them, to make them the stars, because they are the stars, and we want to see a bit more personality. With Jemi, we want to probably peg it down a little bit. We probably see too much. But yeah, so the fire is because of leaders that I've been involved in, and seen them give back, and it's probably just instilled the same passion in me.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of that current player, or the way the women's game is now, Jem, for you, would you, if I'd ask you, so if there's a few things that you would like to see change or added on, what would that be as a current player?
So for me, it would be, I think I have played a lot of domestic cricket in India, like from India's perspective. I've played a lot of domestic cricket and international cricket. So I think one thing that I would love to see a change over here is, you know, the gap between domestic cricket and international cricket is way too much here in India. So sure. I think if we can, you know, get that gap shorter and shorter, and, you know, get that competition higher, I think that will be one of the biggest things, for women's cricket development. And that is possible by, playing these foreign leagues like the Big Bash. And, when many more people from here go out there and play, it's a whole different experience. Like when I went to England and played, just being there and being around this whole new team and around the best of players in the world, you get to learn so much, and you want to, carry that forth even over here and help other people, helps them and help them grow and get better. So I think, the more exposure we get to such tournaments and such matches is going to help us. And yes, as this year we were supposed to have a full-fledged women's IPL, but because of the pandemic, it got cancelled. And now we're having the matches, the Women's T20 Challenge. So hopefully, even in India, soon we'd have a proper full-fledged women's IPL, which is going to definitely get many more younger talents. And, you never know, somebody like Shifari Verma or somebody else will just rise up, and, it's going to benefit our team, help better our bench strength. So I think for me, it would just be, to fill in that gap between international cricket and domestic cricket. So yeah, that's what I am looking for.
Just go for it, Lisa.
I was going to say, just on that, we're starting to see that international teams across the world are being well looked after. It's the next tier. And Australia, obviously with the WBBL, you have 90 plus domestic players on semi-professional contracts. They're not fully professional, and that's probably where we're trying to push that they're at least on, an $80,000 contract. And once you get domestic players being able to train full time and not have to juggle work, not have to train early in the morning, late at night, and all sorts of things, or tournaments being kind of scheduled to allow those that study or work, then you're going to get better players. We've seen that in the women's game. When you invest and they can spend more time training, it transfers onto the field. So across the board, across every country, domestic cricket, those players need to be better looked after.
That's across the board in terms of whether men's and women's cricket. But also, if you go down the levels from professional to an amateur, if you're talking about grassroots, in my experience and working in the grassroots system back in South Africa, that's the biggest challenge is facilities being looked after, proper coaching. Those are the type of things that certainly needs to be a keen focus on if we really want to see this gap between not only certain levels of professional, but even from amateur to professional. There needs to be a real shift in mindsets around how do we bring that closer together, across the board, which is ultimately the biggest challenge that we face, I guess, in the game, or one of them at least. Yeah.
Agreed. Should we finish with a couple of questions, guys?
Yeah, please.
Yep.
Now that you're all nice and relaxed, I'll make you uncomfortable again. Right, Jake, so I'm going to start with you. Seeing as you're now, a big deal in the box, you should be able to answer this one. JP, do you have any advice for me as an upcoming presenter? Any tips for them?
You're thrown in the deep end. So I'm going to lean on my colleague here, something that she shared with me not too long ago, literally a few days ago. And I was sitting with Lisa, and I said, listen, so what are your thoughts? I've worked 2 games now. Any kind of advice or thoughts on how to get better? And she spoke about projection. So the interesting thing about when you're in the box, so it's obviously not a big area, and you find, if you're new to the environment, it sounds weird to hear like an Ian Bishop on top of his voice, or Lisa Sthalekar like almost shouting in the box. But what that does is it projects better for the audience. So it's like kind of weird in a way. And in this last game, I was very conscious of that. And it felt so uncomfortable, like saying, oh, what a great shot. But it was, and I was looking at like the people that was working with me, and they didn't react like it was a funny moment. It's just like, because it's so natural to them. So projection and pronunciation and emphasis on emotion and your tone. Those are kind of things that I'm getting to understand a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add there, Lisa, but that was my sort of learnings of late.
Yeah, just even our conversation here, it's a very monotone type conversation, except when we're laughing at each other. But the main thing is you've got to go up and down, because for the viewers, otherwise it's boring. You put them to sleep. So that's the main thing. It takes a lot of practice, and you won't get it all right all the time. We stuff up regularly. Because we normally have someone in our ear counting, yelling, telling a cameraman off, or you've got counts for world feed coming back, star coming back. Plus you're trying to listen to what they're saying and think of something to say. So we're not going to get it right all the time. But certainly if you give it a crack and you're passionate about doing it, all the best.
Yeah.
Great wisdom from JP, really, from Lisa. Thank you for that, Lisa. Right, to the knowledgeable one, Lisa herself. Lisa, who are a couple of your favourite co-commentators?
I've been fortunate enough, obviously, with the IPL to be involved with some legends. I'd have to say I do enjoy Ian Bishop, and it's more for the conversations that we have off the field. So I'll go and watch the game, and we are talking, and he watches the game. Even now, he'll be watching at his desk, and he'll be going, "Oh, they're going that way, going this way. Why have they got that field? Why are they doing this?" So it always provokes really good discussions, and you'll find times when we're on together, we have a really deep, meaningful discussion about T20 cricket, which you never think you have time, but somehow we seem to get it in. So I enjoy working with him. Michael Slater and Danny, that you just smiling. You're smiling because it's crazy. And you think, how do you get away with saying that on air? Like if I even tried to do something like that, I'd be like, "Thank you, Lisa. It's time to go."
Yeah.
So they're
Do
probably.
you remember my little in the previous game we were talking about Nicholas Pooran?
Yeah, you go Nicky P.
And I gave it the whole Nicky P.
And we all went, did he just call him Nicky P? Like he's completely comfortable in the com box already.
Yeah, pushing those boundaries, James.
Brilliant.
I'm going to go back and find that somewhere on the commentary. Okay, Jemi, this is a really tough one. Who's the better batter, Elisa Healy or your best mate, Smriti Mandana?
Tough.
Objectively, come on, put your friendships aside, objectively, who's the better player?
See, it depends on how they're batting on that particular day, because both of them are like crazy batters. I mean,
how's that fence? Does it hurt?
We'll be sending this to Smitty after this.
Make a decision. Come on. Okay, 50 over 4. No, let's go format. 50 over format.
50 over format, I would say Smriti, because she's more consistent.
Correct.
With
T20 then?
T20, it's a very tough one.
No brainer.
Lisa.
Okay,
Come
after
on.
me, Lisa has to decide, okay?
No worries, I'm happy.
Lisa's giving you a way out. You could say one for each format, but you're making it difficult for yourself.
Correct, she is hopeless.
I don't know. I didn't see, both of them are really good.
No, try again. I don't care. They're both good. We get it. Make a decision.
There's a career in punditry coming up for Jemi.
Well, I don't know, man.
I think it's simple. I think Schmitty's certainly 50 over cricket, though I feel like Elisa Healy has probably unlocked the secrets in the last 18 months. So her last 18 months to 2 years has been outstanding. I think she's averaging over 60 in both formats. But I certainly think T20 cricket, she's more dynamic. I would prefer to bowl to Smitty instead of Elisa Healy. I just feel like Healy, you look up and you feel like you're being pummeled, Whereas I reckon Smitty is almost, she works a couple, she'll hit a few, and before you look up and you go, wow, okay, she's already that. But Elisa Healy, you feel the pressure, I reckon, when you're standing at the top of the mark.
Wow. Thanks,
wasn't-
Lisa. That was very, that was clinical. Very clinical. That's what we like.
You can see she's a broadcaster, clinical.
She's got her stats there as well.
Right,
Yeah,
and 3, 2, 1, break.
So yeah, make some notes, Jemi. Make some notes. Okay. Well, we've survived those questions. Yeah. Yeah, we've survived those. Thank you for everyone who sent your questions in. We've got a whole load, but obviously we're time pressured. So thank you very much for those. Lisa, it's been so good to have you. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for all you're doing for the game. It's been really good to chat.
No worries, Liam. Thanks, JP. Nice to see you, Jemi. Boy, I like the new look.
I'll see you
It's
in
so nice
Bishop's.
talking to you after so long, and
I'll see you in
hopefully,
Bishop's.
I don't know if we'll be able to meet, but maybe
No.
just from far I'll wave.
No, I'm
At
not
the
going to
Combox.
beat them. I'm leaving. I've got to go back
okay.
to Australia for WBBL, but I will be.
Okay.
So I expect some classic catches out in the boundary from you. Yeah, and a few sixes over cover.
Especially.
Lisa, are you, where you watching the game?
Bish, I'm going to Bish's room now.
Okay, I'll see you there.